You are now listening to Fourth Down Fiasco, Season 2.
Fires, Mike Sims, Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him dart back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking, firing, near corner. It's caught.
Denver, unbelievable.
And welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for all things football, including the European League of Football, which we are going to dive into today. This episode of the Fourth Down Fiasco is brought to you by BetStamp. BetStamp is the sportsbookie of all sportsbookies. You can check them out at signupexpert.com/fiasco. Place a $10 bet because they got BetMGM, Bet365, Caesars, FanDuel, all the big name sportsbookies in one place for you to make it easy. Plus, they're always running all different kinds of deals on all the different betting websites. So, a $10 bet can get you some money back. But with me, as always, the rising stars of the podcast industry and the two that I'm going to kick it to for the rest of the episode, Danny Weber and Tanner Vinsky.
Well, thanks, Jordan, for that intro. We're just going to hop right into it and talk about this East Division. So in the East Division, we got Färöer, Prague, Wrocław, and Vienna. Last year, we had a runaway with the division. Vienna won the division by 6 games. Before we hop into it, Tanner, do you think that's going to happen again?
I think so, honestly. Because it's 2 years in a row now that Vienna has gone undefeated in the regular season.
Yeah.
And we were talking a little bit pre-show that, Vienna's probably just better this year than they were last year with who they cut and who they signed. So if I'm looking at it from that point of view, I easily see them going undefeated again. And if they're going to go undefeated again, that says, okay, well, second best team, how well are they going to do? And you look at Wrocław, although their roster is relatively incomplete, I really don't see them going above 500. I see them being about where they were last year, around 500. So I don't think it will be a bigger gap than last year, but I think it's going to be about the same. It should be about a 6-game lead.
Yeah, and last year, Wrocław got 2 free wins against the Lions, who got a lot better in the offseason. So that's not going to be gimme games now this year again. But before we jump into all those teams, let's talk about the bottom team, or I guess the second worst team last year, Färöer. The quote-unquote could be bottom this year. Swapping out 3 of their 4A imports, bringing in new quarterback Brock Duman from the GFL and the University of Louisville. Brought in a big wide receiver, 6'5". I don't know how quick he is, but I know he played for them before. Rashad Still. Brought in defensive end Emmett Goodend, and then kept other defensive end Malik Crenshaw. So they have 2A imports on the D-line. Thoughts on that?
I think, like I've said it for most of these teams, it seems like they usually prioritize DB when they go American. I think prioritizing D-line is a good call too. I think if you're going to get pressure, off the line, you're going to rattle opposing quarterbacks. And I think that's really what you need to do in the ELF level, because most of these guys are going to be easily rattled. We kind of talked about it a little bit last show, where we were saying, well, when you take away certain aspects of the field, these guys don't have the elite processing that like an NFL player would. So that's going to make it more difficult for them. I think if you just apply pressure, you see some of the best NFL QBs struggle heavily against the blitz, we've seen it in playoff games. Even someone to the caliber of Patrick Mahomes struggled really heavily when he did not have his O-line blocking. And now the Eagles didn't really blitz in that game, but they still had pressure on him in the backfield consistently, and that rattled him enough. So I think if you're prioritizing your D line and you're making sure your edge rushers can get past like the O lines, which we have said have been pretty suspect in the past for this league. That's a good way to stop. And I mean, if you're looking at Ben Holmes as, I think some people would say the best QB in the ELF. I mean, he definitely made a strong case for it last year. Why not just build your line so you can rattle him and make sure that, he makes mistakes?
Yeah, that's fair. I wouldn't be surprised if Farivar is the team with the highest blitz percentage at the end of the year, just per play.
Yeah.
But bringing in new quarterback and wide receiver tandem, Brock Dooman and Rashad Still. I don't know much about Rashad Still, besides that he's just a big body, probably a good 50-50 ball. But thoughts on Brock Dooman coming in?
I think, like you said, he played at Louisville, and although his stats at Louisville were pretty bad, it's the fact that he played at Louisville and saw competition at that high of a level in the college field. That's better than most of these quarterbacks have seen, and most of these import quarterbacks have seen, really. I mean, most of the import quarterbacks have played at really small schools. I mean, well, when we were talking about Ben Holmes, he played at, Tarleton State?
Mm-hmm. Jadrian played at Weaver State.
Weaver State. Oh, he played in Utah?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If that's where Weaver State is, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's where Pam worked there for a little while.
Nice. But off the top of my head, I don't want to say the only, but off the top of my head, the only quarterback I can think of that played D1 is rookie Jalen Henderson, played at Boise.
Yeah. So I think just that's a massive advantage too. And when I'm looking at Rashad Still, I mean, he played for Minnesota. So he played for the Golden Gophers, and that's also a D1 school.
Why do I remember him playing for Minnesota? That's weird.
I don't know. Maybe he had like a crazy highlight or something.
Maybe. But no, so you got two D1 talented players of your A imports on offense. Hopefully they can click.
Yeah, I don't think there would be any reason why you would remember Rashad Stills unless he had like a huge play, because his best season was 349 yards, and then he had one season with 3 touchdowns. So
yeah, I don't know.
He's very much a depth receiver on that Minnesota team.
But their offense should be, hopefully, I say hopefully with a big emphasis, better than what it was last year. And it goes back to, we've talked about it for the last year and a half now, the trenches. How good can their O-line be compared to the D-lines they're playing? Can they give Dooman a couple seconds to throw the ball? Can they give him a clean pocket?
And that's a hard part about this East Division is when you're Verivar and Prague, it feels like you have a very big disadvantage compared to Vienna and Wrocław. Because Wrocław and Vienna, like Austria and Poland actually play American football. Like they have not like a big American football presence, but they have a good enough presence that like kids are growing up playing it. Whereas in Hungary and Czechia, you're not really having that happen. So having to rely on most of your talent being homegrown, it makes it pretty difficult for you to compare to, one of the Austrian teams where American football is a massive sport that gets played for most of these guys growing up. So they actually have experience playing. They know what they're doing. And, like we talked about with when we did the Jordan Bois interview, even though Italy's a much bigger country for American football, Jordan said that he didn't start playing football until he was an adult, right?
Yeah, was it high school, college, or something like the high school or something?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, he was either like junior, senior year of high school, or he was in college when he started playing American football. So, and I would imagine that's probably most of the case for the Verivar guys that get signed.
Yeah, especially with like even just leagues have been around forever, but the ELF, like they probably doesn't have the experience of playing the rest of the top of Europe.
Yeah.
And then I will go back to the defense for a second. You have the two D linemen, but you're playing three teams with very high-powered offenses with their interconference games. So minus Berlin out of their interconference, they have Stuttgart and Madrid as their two other interconference teams. So how are you going to restrict their offenses? Can your DBs hang on enough to let your D-line get there? Then you do have to play Vienna twice, who have a very good offensive line. So half their games, it's going to come down to if you can get the pressure, if you can fluster the quarterback. But, like, I don't see you flustering Hennessy.
No, I don't really see it either.
Yeah, like maybe Holmes a little bit because it's only his second year in the league. And he wasn't a quarterback. He wasn't a interception prone last year. I threw like 5.
Mm-hmm.
But you might be able to get one away from Holmes, and then Reed Sinnett, who knows? He was on an NFL practice squad.
Which, I mean, that's a lot further
never
than
played.
Well, being on an NFL practice squad is scary for this talent, you know.
Yeah. So Sinnett's processing might be a little quicker, but he hasn't played European talent. It's different style they play. So maybe early on you could fluster him a little bit. I don't know. But the main question is, can they do better than 2-10?
This roster looks better than the last roster, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is very much in play to do better than 2-10.
Yeah.
I still think they might go 2-10 though. I mean, it's just they're still building to something, and I really don't see them beating anybody in their division, unfortunately. Maybe Prague.
If they could steal a game against Prague or Wrocław, depending on how the two play. Like, you could kind of go in like it's kind of 50-50, but we also don't know how Prague and Wrocław are going to play.
Absolutely.
Prague could not have a quarterback, or not Prague. Wrocław could cut their quarterback week 3. Who knows?
Yeah.
But looking here as well, I will say they spent 2 imports on their offensive line, which is nice. And then I guess Crenshaw is listed as a linebacker, but I've heard he's more of an edge rusher. But then 2 more of their imports are on that D line. So they have all E's and A's on that D line.
No, I mean, I like it. I like prioritizing the defense like this. And if it works, it's going to be extremely effective. If this plays out the way they're envisioning it, I mean, Verevar could be scary for opponents. Now, I don't think that means they're going to be scary as in this is a sneaky playoff team, right? Because I think they're very much far away from that, unless they just have a ridiculous offense. Like, if they come out there and Still and Dolman just go insane, then yeah, this could be a dark horse team. But I think if you have that defense, I mean, teams aren't going to want to play you, which is good, right? You might only go 3-9 or 4-8, and you're still kind of looking at the bottom of the division. But I mean, you take away some good, imagine you beat a Vienna, and teams are going to sit there and be like, "Oh shit, we have Verevar on the schedule." See, all the pressure they created, we're going to get our guy, our quarterback's going to get beat up,
Yeah. I'll be curious to see how they end up. And I mean, even if they end up with 3-4 wins, 4 wins doubles their last year's record.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I think it'll be hard. They play such talented teams. It'll be hard to say that it's easy to get above 2 wins or at least match, but they should.
Yeah, it's tough though, because I mean, you said they're interconference games, having to play Stuttgart and Madrid, that sucks. You're not beating Stuttgart or Madrid.
No.
So and I think they should be better than Berlin. Maybe, I don't know. But
Berlin's weird. We have no clue.
At least that's a toss up. At least that's a game they could take. So
yeah. But yeah, they kind of got screwed. They have the 6th hardest schedule.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For a team that was they were the 2nd worst, right? They were
2-10. There's a 1-11 team. Yeah.
Who was 1-11 last year? Was it?
We'll talk about them. The Prague Lions.
Oh, Prague did only win one game, huh?
Prague won their first ever ELF game last year.
Brutal.
Yes.
Wait, first ever?
Yes.
How many years have they been in?
I think this was their second.
Okay.
They're going into their third. And going into their third, they have decided to change everything. Went out, got a new scout. He has done an incredible job so far. Brought in 4 new A imports. Brought in quarterback Javarian Smith from Hamburg, who only played 5 games, but had 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 picks. So why Hamburg got rid of him, who knows?
No.
Then stole Willie Patterson from Madrid, who finished with 896 yards and 5 touchdowns. And out of his 896 yards, 403 were yak yards.
No, he was crazy.
Yeah. And then went and got Jalen Embry and Ken Hike Jr. for their A imports on the defense. So experience and talented players for their A imports.
No, I love what Prague's done. When I was saying Verivar's not my dark horse team, Prague is my dark horse team, where I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because I think there's just too much talent at the top end.
Yeah.
But I could see this team winning 6 games, which is massive compared to the 1-11 season they had last year, right?
Yeah.
If you win 5 more games, that's ridiculous. But
That's crazy.
I mean, Willie Patterson was he was 4th or 5th in receiving yards last year. I mean, he was top 5, right? At 800.
He was 8th.
8th. So still, you got a top 10 receiver statistics wise coming into this situation. You have Javarian Smith coming in, who, like we talked about, played with Hamburg last year and was one of the better QBs that were going through the Hamburg carousel.
Yeah.
Right. So you're bringing them in, and then Jalen Embry is a massive pickup for your defense.
4 picks, 32 tackles in 8 games.
Yeah, you could argue he was one of the cornerstones of that Rhine championship run.
He was Madrid last year.
No, I thought Embry was he not Rhine?
I think he was Madrid.
Who am I thinking about that was on Rhine then? I thought there was somebody with an E last name on Rhine that.
The main DBs on Rhine were Tony Anderson, Marlo Sean Franklin, Amari Williams, Till Jansen.
Strange.
Where's Madrid at though?
Maybe I was thinking of Amarian.
Jalen Embry got hurt when he was playing with Madrid.
Okay.
So, yeah, but
still, I mean, if you look at Madrid's defense, though, they were like the 5th overall scoring defense. So I mean, they were top half of the league team, and if you're that good of a scoring defense, that means, and I think Embry would contribute a lot to that. So again, you're taking 2 players from Madrid who are both really big parts of why Madrid was so good last year and why they shocked the league so much. So I could see this team doing really well.
Yeah, Madrid was 6th best passing defense last year. 21 total picks. He had 4 of them in 8 games, 32 tackles again. But then even Ken Hike Jr., he got bounced around from Helvetic and Vienna. Played 7 total games, 31 tackles in 7 games, 11 pass breakups.
Yeah.
And 2 picks. So you guys they got some ball hawks over there on the Prague defense. But so I've heard they're aiming for 4 wins is what they're aiming for. However, their interconference games with Hamburg, Frankfurt, and Helvetic. We don't know what Helvetic's going to do. That could be 2 wins, and Hamburg could be 2 wins. Frankfurt's supposed to be pretty good. I don't know.
But that could be 4 of the 6 wins I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
So
then you still got Farivar.
Then you still have Verivar, and I could see them potentially sweeping Verivar, and then all of a sudden, you take those 6 wins right there, and you could sneak into the playoffs somehow if you find a way to just get like 2 more wins somewhere.
Steal one from Wrocław.
Steal one from Wrocław. Steal one from Frankfurt. All of a sudden, you're 8-4. I mean, that is a long shot. I don't think that's gonna. That's
dream
not
scenario.
That's not what's going to happen. But I think 6 wins is not completely unrealistic.
No, yeah.
I mean, I could. We'll see at the end of the season when they go 2-10, and we'll talk about how I overhyped them way too much. But this is a team I like. I mean, just. I think if you're trying to rebuild and you're trying to get something, I like what they're doing a lot more than most of these teams that we reviewed so far.
No, yeah. And the Lions rebuild should be the one teams follow.
Yeah.
Especially with the O-line. We talked about it with the lack of O-line-ish for Farivar. Prague went all in.
Yep.
4 of their imports are O-line. They went out and got brothers Lewis and Ben Burgess from Great Britain or from the UK. They got Jasper Fries from Germany, and then Lucas da Silva from Brazil. Went out and got a Brazilian.
Yeah. So I mean, that's crazy just to take 4 imports all on the O line. Like they're really trying to keep their offense rolling, which is massive because you've seen a lot of these teams fail at O-line. And if you bring in 4 guys and you can open up running lanes because they're bringing back Zulzeka, who they started last year. And I mean, he was in hell last year. I mean, he could not get anything going. So I think obviously they're bringing him back. So I think they see potential in him and they're like, you know what, we can use this guy as a massive back, like someone or a workhorse back, right?
Yeah.
And if we're using him as a workhorse back, bring in the O-line, make it so it's easy to run down other teams' throats. You're going to have Patterson, who you're going to be able to use for trick plays. I mean, we saw that in Madrid. We saw a lot of end arounds. We saw a lot of him playing in running formations.
Very Deebo Samuel-esque.
I mean, when Madrid ran into all the issues with QB, I mean, Patterson was doing a lot of the work there,
Well, he beat the fire. When Helbig went down, Willie Patterson was the quarterback for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, they probably saw that, that's a potential you can run in Wildcat. You can throw defenses off with that, put in Patterson at QB, run some Wildcat, and if you can establish that type of running offense, that's how you control games.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see what Prague does. Hopefully it's not a huge underperformance like Hamburg last year. And I don't think that'll be the case. But let's see. The Lions do have the second easiest schedule in all of the ELF.
Yeah.
So that's a bonus. Sucks that they have Vienna in their conference, though.
No, but, if you take Vienna out of there, then they would have the easiest,
Yeah. Replace Vienna if they would have took Vienna out and left Berlin in, I could see Prague winning that conference.
Yeah, easily.
But let's talk about the team that came in second. Wrocław Panthers. Talk about a QB carousel. They finished the season without a quarterback on their team.
Mm-hmm.
But they got a guy from a school that we hate, from Akron, because we went to school right down the road, and Jordan's not here to take us away from talking about Kent State. But no, DJ Irons or DeMarcus Irons from Akron tore his ACL in 2023 and has not played football since. So his first snap in a football game will be against, who do they play week 1? I should have had that ready. Against the Panther, or against Farivar.
Oh, that's a good place to start.
Is it with their D-line?
I mean, that's a fair point, but you're at least not playing Vienna week 1, right?
No, that would be horrible.
Yeah. So.
But he hopefully can be a little mobile in that offensive scheme because they ran a lot of different plays with the Panthers last year. Quarterbacks were running all over the field, hence what their quarterback was a wide receiver anyways. But they brought back their 1,000-yard rusher, David Brzezowski. If I'm saying your name wrong, sorry. And then their big signing, this was huge. They stole Darrell Stewart Jr. from the Surge. In 8 games last year before he got hurt, he had 370 yards and 4 touchdowns. So not huge numbers, but he's a very good wide receiver.
No, I mean, Wrocław's an interesting team. Right now, it's hard for me to say a ton about them because they're missing a lot of the roster still. They haven't signed most of their guys. Mm-hmm. But I think bringing in DJ Irons should be what the offense needs. I hope they have a consistent quarterback through the entire year because they struggled heavily with that last year.
Yeah.
I mean, the QB carousel they went through was absolutely horrendous, and I feel like they made a lot of bad calls as well while they were doing that. So I think if you just have DJ Irons as a stable force, and that's going to be a leader for your team, you're going to be able to move somewhere. Brzezowski's he's still going to be a top 3 running back in the ELF. He should remain consistent. So I think their offense isn't anything to really worry about. It really is just going to come over to how well their defense does, because last year, I mean, their defense struggled heavily despite having AJ Wetland, who is arguably the best linebacker in the league.
Yeah.
So you're going to run into the same thing. Like, if this defense can do much of anything, then I think Wrocław could be a team that, like we said with Prague, I mean, they could be scary in the certain situations,
Yeah. And so their defense ranked second last, only ahead of Prague in passing defense. They gave up almost 3,200 yards of passing offense, 22 touchdowns, only 7 picks. However, on the other side, with the help of AJ Wetland, they were the number 1 rushing defense. They only gave up 1,046 yards all season on the ground.
That's impressive.
But that goes into when your team can get thrown on, when a quarterback can throw up 500 yards.
Are they really running the ball? Yeah.
So it would be kind of nicer to see them kind of in the middle of both, so they're kind of equal, but you can say you're the number 1 rushing defense, but when you're basically last in passing, you're not that good. So do they bring in any new DBs? We don't know yet. They kept Devin Burrell, who obviously is a very good returnman and defender to an extent, but always a playmaker on the field. But no, they don't. That's using. It's hard when you have AJ Wetland. It's kind of hard to find homegrown DBs. They went out and got 2 European DBs, but we don't know how. I don't know how good they are.
Yeah, brought in a dude from Turkey. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then Denmark is full of good players. Denmark and Serbia, interesting. But if their defense can get a little bit better, I could see them sneaking over that 500 mark, depending on how everything plays out.
Yeah, they're kind of in the same place in Prague in my mind for this upcoming season. I expect them to not be a bottom tier team. I expect them to do, better than, I would say about 4 to 5 teams in the ELF, but I think they're going to be mostly middling. I think they have the potential, like we said with Prague, they have the potential to have a shocking season and, make a playoff push, but I wouldn't bet on it. I think this is closer to like a 5 or 6 win roster.
No, yeah. And they luck out having to play Cologne, who might be one of the worst teams ever, from certain people saying it. like they might be generationally bad for the ELF this upcoming season.
Really?
Yes.
I know we were talking about Berlin being that way, but I had no clue Cologne was that bad.
Cologne might be really, really, really bad. And then they do play Nordic, so they kind of go 180 on that. And then they do play another playoff contender in Munich. So 2 of their 3 interconference games or teams are a little bit tough for them.
Yeah.
But they still do luck out with the 12th hardest schedule, so kind of middle of the pack-ish. They're towards the bottom, actually. But they might be able to run a good wide receiver 1-2 punch with rookie homegrown receiver Eric Ottender. Interesting name. Okay. But apparently he's a very good homegrown wide receiver. And it was too early for him to come into the ELF last year, apparently. Or no, he would have been playing at Baylor. Hold on.
He was playing at Baylor. He was on, at least from what I'm looking at, it says he's from Estonia.
Yes, he's from Estonia. He's classified as a homegrown. He played for Massachusetts. He's the first Estonia player to play in the ELF.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he played at UMass.
Nice.
So he's apparently good. So
UMass is in the MAC now, right? Or are they moving to the MAC?
I think so.
Which is kind of weird. UMass does not. I mean, why
they don't belong in the MAC, but
yeah,
conference realignment is throwing everything off. But yeah, and would you say it's playoff or bust for Wrocław? Because I mean, they finished 500 last year. They just missed the playoffs the year before.
I mean, the goal is absolutely playoffs. I mean, if you're a 500 team, you're expecting to get better every year. You're not expecting to get worse. And if you're a general manager for a team and you're expecting to get worse, then, hopefully you're rebuilding. That's like the only thing I can say about that. So, I mean, realistically, yes, they should be better. Realistically, they should be aiming for the playoffs. I don't think it's that big of a deal if they don't make it, though. I think there's still a couple of key pieces away from being an actual contender in the league. And, if they end the season 6-6 again, I don't think that's like a sign to blow everything up and try something else. I think they just need to keep doing what they're doing, building to something that is, I think really what you're just going to have to look at the end of the season is how did your A imports do? Are you confident that these are guys you can build around? Like, did DJ Irons have a great year? If so, then okay, you have something going. And if not, then you're going to have to retool like you did this offseason.
Yeah. Do you think they'll have a QB change?
I mean, it really depends. Like you said, he hasn't played since 2023. I mean, if he goes out there and he looks really immobile and he's having trouble, processing the game and he looks really rusty, you could see probably after a few weeks he won't be lasting much longer. Because I think, especially if they drop the game to Verivar to start the season, I think they're going to go on panic mode.
Probably.
So if they start off and they drop to Verivar, DJ Irons looks bad in that game, I could see Poland just all right, we're not doing this. We don't have any time to waste. Like, we can't be losing to Verivar. And I think that could happen. But I don't anticipate that happening. I think they're going to beat Verivar in week 1. I think DJ Irons is going to look pretty good.
But there is two quarterbacks on my mind that if something does happen, one sat out this year because of family health issues, but now his mom's cancer-free, healthy. Maybe he'll make a comeback. Mr. Zach Edwards. I could see him in Carolina blue or Wrocław blue.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mr. Carlton Aiken, if he wants to come out of retirement and go back to Poland. Played in Poland before.
I mean, I'd love to see both of them. I mean, they've been on the show, so.
Yeah. But, so, maybe. If something happens, maybe they'll get a phone call.
Yeah.
But the team of the hour, the Vienna Vikings. Your initial thoughts before I say anything.
When we started the show, I mean, like I said, this team's most likely going 12-0. Even despite what their schedule is going to look like, this is the team to beat. Once again, well, one of the teams to beat. It's going to be them, Rhine, and the Nordic Storm. Like, these are the three teams that if you see them on your schedule, you're going to be relieved if you get a win walking out of there.
Not Stuttgart?
I think it's tough with Stuttgart. I think Stuttgart's going to have a better record than both Rhine and the Storm because they're not in the same division. I don't know. Like, Stuttgart really isn't that far behind, but they almost feel like they're just like a half step behind, right? Like, I feel like, to me at least, it seems like Rhine, Nordic, and Vienna are like the elite teams, and those are the teams that are going to be the scariest. And I think Stuttgart is right behind them in a tier of their own, but I still think they're like a half step behind.
Interesting. Okay. But yeah, so back to Vienna. They play the Rhine twice, the Raiders twice, and Paris twice. They should sweep the Raiders, but that 4 games against Rhine and Paris, you think they're going to sweep them both?
I think they will. Weirdly enough, I feel more confident because it's what happened the last 2 years. They swept or maybe not swept, but they beat Rhine in the regular season, but they lost them in the postseason, and I could see that happening. And also with the changes to the Rhine Fire, I could very much see that.
Yeah.
So I'm actually more concerned about them dropping games to Paris, just because that's where Jack Del Rio went, right?
Yep, and they brought in Jalen Henderson.
Yeah. So that's where I'm more concerned, because when you have an NFL talent head coach, that team's probably going to be scary.
Yeah. Talking about scary, let's talk about Vienna's offense. So they brought back Ben Holmes, re-signed Kari Pajarini, third leading rusher in the ELF. Then their wide receiver room is terrifying. This is just their top 3. There are still more that I'm missing off of their homegrown list, but they got Reese Horn, Noah Torre, who won Offensive Rookie of the Year, and then they stole Yannick Meyer from Stuttgart. That's just their wide receiver 3, and that doesn't include Flo Bierbaumer, their gigantic tight end.
Yeah, and Meyer was amazing last season.
He was pretty good last year. Numbers are flawed just because of some of the teams they played. They got pulled early because they were putting up 90 points. But yeah, Yannick Meyer as a wide receiver 2 or 3 is terrifying, or Noah Torre as a 2 or 3. And how do you guard that offense?
I mean, I don't think there's going to be much they can do, to be completely honest. Like, opposing defenses are like going to be able to do against this. No. I think your best chance is you just blitz the shit out of Ben Holmes and hope that he makes mistakes. Like, I think that's your best bet, because you need to have such a deep defensive back core if you want to stop these receivers. And so I think you just leave one of the receivers open and you just use that guy to blitz the quarterback, right? Like, you know, either Ben has enough time to get it out to him, or he's taking a sack or throwing the ball away, you know?
The only team with DBs I could see that could stop this team is the Rhine Fire, because they retained their whole defensive back core. But I don't see Prague, I don't see Farivar, I don't see Vroslav, and I don't see the Raiders.
I mean, if Farivar shuts down this offense, I mean, Farivar,
good job.
It's all the credit in the world, you know?
Yeah. And so they had one of the best offenses last year. I forget what. Let's see. What do they average? Not points per game. Do they not have points per game? Why? Here's, I guess, they averaged 440 yards of offense per game.
Wow.
They also led the league in, before I mention that, let's talk about defense. They led the league in sacks at 43. Second was Berlin with 35. And so with their defense, they're bringing back the likes of Bombeck, Thomas Schaffer, Noah Svankar, I forget his first name, Lalo, and then Benjamin Strait. That's just their core. And they're adding their 2A imports, Divine Buckram and Amani Dennis, who played in the USFL. And then also former Rookie of the Year, Timmy Nukita. I think is how you say his name. Nuka? I don't know. But their defense only got better because I think both American DBs are better than what they had last year.
No, I completely agree. I think this defense is going to be phenomenal. I mean, they were phenomenal last year. I expect the same to happen this year. I think their best defensive players stayed, and they cut some weight at the defensive players they lost. So
yeah,
it's going to be a scary team.
It's going to be a very scary team. But yeah, how many interceptions did they have last year? Turnovers. They had 11 picks and 7 fumbles, which isn't all that high. Only 18 total turnovers. I guess in 12 games, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. I mean, that's...
Yeah, but they were only +6 on the year. Ben Holmes had 8 picks, and they had 4 total fumbles.
Which I expect will be better this year. I mean, Ben will probably throw less picks with just the receiving core that he has.
No, yeah. He'll be smarter this year, I assume. But then the Vikings have the 9th hardest schedule. So again, kind of bottom of the pack.
And like I said earlier, I just don't think it's going to matter, to be honest.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like Vienna's going to run away with the East Division once again.
Yeah, I mean, when I posted my standings for the East, I said Vienna's going to go undefeated. Prague and Wrocław are both going to win 6 games, and then Verebar is going to win 2. So it's not even going to be close. Like, I just don't think any of these 3 teams are even in the same stratosphere of competing.
No, yeah.
So
it's not if they'll win the division, it's win.
Yeah, like
what week? Week 7, week 9, who knows?
I mean, depending on the situation, it might take them a little bit longer than that, just because of, if Prague or Wrocław start off hot and are like at a 4-2, then it's going to take a lot longer for them to clinch the division. But I think even if Vienna's at like a 5-1 and like Wrocław's at like a 4-2, Vienna's not losing the division.
No. I would be shocked if it came down to like the final 2-3 weeks of the season.
Oh yeah, that'd be insane. I mean, that means that either Vienna's having like an abysmal season or like Wrocław or Prague are going absolutely nuclear.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome to see. I mean, if Wrocław or Prague just came out and won like 10 games, like that'd be insane.
But Wrocław doesn't play Vienna until the final 4 weeks of the season. So what week is that? I don't know. They play them. They're going backwards. Their last game is against Paris, then Wrocław, Ferencváros, and Wrocław again. So they don't play the Panthers till way late.
I mean, if the Panthers have a great season, then there could actually be a division race there. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Looking at this Vienna schedule, it's so weird. They play Prague, Ferencváros, Then they go Rhine Raiders. That's so weird. And then they go Prague, Paris, and then finish the season off with Paris. But that Paris-Vienna game could be a battle for a playoff seeding game.
It could be. Like I said, I mean, Paris having an NFL coach, like they could do something.
I hope Jalen Henderson is obviously he's not going to be as good as he was last year with 5,000 yards and 91 touchdowns, but I hope he is good.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. But yeah. Easy conference.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to say. I'm excited to watch Wrocław and Prague, and even to an extent a little bit of Verevar. Like, I think Verevar could be better than we're giving them credit for, but they're not going to be good enough to make much of anything happen in this division.
I think all 4 teams got better.
Yeah.
Which is what you're aiming for. You never want to go into a season with someone saying, I think you got worse, like Berlin or Cologne.
Yeah, which is unfortunately what we've had to say before, but
yeah. But this is probably the only division where we could probably say all 4 teams got better. The South you probably could with Helvetic, Madrid, Munich, and Tyrol.
I struggle to see how Helvetic got better.
Their A imports got better, but the rest of them didn't. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Berlin, Cologne, no. But any final words?
No, I think that about covers it for me. Like I said, I think.
Do you think we'll see Vienna and Stuttgart for the championship game?
Vienna and Stuttgart for the championship game.
Vienna in Stuttgart, not against Stuttgart.
Oh, okay.
Do you think they'll make it to the championship game?
I'd bet. It really just depends on who they run into in their side of the bracket, right?
Yeah.
If they run into a Rhine or like, I would say Rhine. Rhine would be the team I'd be most scared of if I was Vienna, just because they've had their number over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I think if you don't face Rhine in the championship game, you're probably going to the or like if you face Rhine before the championship game, like whether it's the second round, you're probably not making it there. But I think if you avoid them, you probably get a championship berth.
Makes sense. Yeah, because, last year they lost to the Fire in the championship game. The year before that, they lost to Stuttgart in the semifinals. So,
yeah. There's 4 teams really that I see going to the championship game. Like, it's going to be Stuttgart, Rhine, Nordic, or Vienna. I think those are my 4 safest bets. And then you kind of get into like the Paris, the Madrid, like where they could, but it's hard to say at this time.
Anything happens in the playoffs. We all thought Stuttgart was going to make it to the championship game against the Fire. And then all of a sudden they lost in overtime.
Yep.
Any given Sunday.
Well, and it's Saturday here, right? Depends on the game. Yeah.
They do Saturday and Sunday games.
One of the 2. Any given weekend. Yeah. There we go.
Any given weekend. But all right. Thanks for listening to our East Division breakdown. This was Tanner and Danny. Jordan decided to skip out because he had errands to run, quote unquote.
We also recorded late for his credit, so
they don't need to know that. He is still editing this, so thanks, Jordan. We appreciate you. But leave us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Go follow us on our social media at 4th Down Fiasco on X and TikTok, at 4th Down _pod on Instagram. What am I missing?
We got a YouTube.
YouTube. Go subscribe to our YouTube. All of our Through the Visor FDS exclusive interviews are on there. So we've already done one with Ben Holmes. We just released one with DJ Irons. We have one coming out with one of the Nordic Storm board members and another MVP candidate quarterback coming out in a couple weeks. So you don't want to miss those. But have a good one. See you next week. Peace.
Hugs and kisses.
Well, I like school, and I like football, and I'm gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel good.